A whole generation of Canadians has been scared by successive governments into believing that climate change will be changed by governments. And the way to do that is to tax. Just a few weeks ago, though, the Ministry of the Environment came out with a report saying that emissions are rising, notwithstanding the onerous taxes that Canadians are paying. So let's just bring in Dan McTeague, who is a former member of Parliament, Liberal for a generation, and you know all about what's going on with the taxes and the emissions. And the emissions are growing notwithstanding. What does that mean about Trudeau's program?
And it's growing at a time in which we had lockdowns, COVID lockdowns.
Yes.
So you had a 1/3 lessening of economic activity, and yet emissions are rising. Forget the methodologies, because we know the population is growing. But we also have to look at the policy. The policy says Canada has to play a role in changing the climate, even though it produces 1.4 to 1.6 of the global emissions.
So no matter what Canada does again, it doesn't matter.
$80 billion later, we're still losing the battle, if that is in fact the battle. I think it's the wrong paradigm. I think it's impossible for us to make any type of attempt at trying to change the weather by somehow suggesting that Canada is A, at fault, B, it can do something about the weather, and more importantly, that at the end of all of this, it doesn't have the solution that the world desperately needs, i.e. sell a lot more of our natural gas to places like China and India, who are in fact leading the charge when it comes to those mysterious emissions.
How could the people in our government, and Justin Trudeau, and they signed the Paris Peace Accord, how can they be so wrong?
I think the giddiness, it was trendy, it was hip, it was cool.
It's 2015.
Exactly. Look, I understand the enthusiasm of a new government and the idea that this is the issue that captivated the world. But, you know, Stephen, I worked for a guy years ago who knew all about this stuff, and he made the same comments. And for that reason, 30, 40 years on, none of these predictions have turned out to be true. And of course, at the end of the day, what we're looking at is a government that has run out of ideas and run out of steam, and maybe running out of the public's money.
Well, I mean, when you talk about the people years ago who made these predictions, I saw it again the other day about Al Gore, Vice President, saying, unless we do something, we are all going to be underwater. And, here we are 20 years after that prediction, we're not. But, so we have a government that's its head stuck us in the sand, but Canadians are suffering. So why isn't this government out?
I think the fact is the media, those who control opinion, and maybe some of the social influencers are not ready to concede. That's one thing to battle over the price of gasoline and diesel and jet fuel. It's quite another to have 50% of Canadians at a point where they can't make ends meet, and a whole lot more, 4-time, 5-time increase in the number of people visiting food banks. That is the litmus test, and it is a litmus test that will eventually impose, I think, a burden on Justin Trudeau when he decides to pack up and leave.
Not soon enough. Dan McTeague, thanks very much. 3 minutes. Justin Trudeau is now on the record as saying that social media is destabilizing, and he wants to bring in censorship to determine what can be put on and not on social media. That is wrong. Please support this station, and please add your address so I can write you a letter and thank you for supporting freedom of speech.